Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar slash Korra product review basically. And this time around I'm going to be reviewing the Legend of Korra Book 2 Spirits DVD set. First of all, you may be asking why I got the DVD set and not the Blu-ray. Now, anyone who's been following my channel for any amount of time really probably knows I'm from Ireland, and Book 2 hasn't even aired, hasn't even premiered over here on TV yet. So I've had to obviously get this from Amazon.com, American Amazon, and obviously different regions. I can play it on my laptop because you can obviously change the region of the disk drive to make it work. But I don't have any way to play Blu-rays, and I think even if I had a Blu-ray player, I wouldn't be able to. Not that, at least not that I know of, do anything to play the American Blu-ray. So I'm stuck with this as any sort of way to support the show by actually giving Nickelodeon my money. It's a really weird situation for basically everyone not from America or Canada, where if you want to support the show, all you can really do is buy a DVD that is probably not going to work where you live. But anyway, here is the actual set. Just like the Book 1 DVD, it comes in a nice case. Let me just actually get the Book 1. So yeah, got it. So obviously here's a Book 1 set, and here's the Book 2 set. So you can see this is the same sort of theme in terms of the style, that they have the angular design here with the name of the show, Nickelodeon, and then again the kind of title card bit along the bottom. And then on the back, you have, again, similar stuff, similar designs, what the bonus features are, brief description and all that. And then within the kind of sleeve that you get, it's just the exact same thing, just with a slipcase. So I do like that you get the slipcase. When Book 1 was released on DVD over here, we didn't get the slipcase. So that's interesting. Inside, you can just get the 2 discs. You obviously get episodes 1 to 7 on this one, and then 8 to 14 on this one, which is an interesting disc breakdown because it means that Beginnings is separate as across the discs. As like the best two-parter, it's interesting that you have to switch discs to actually watch it all. They maybe could have done something where like they put all of the extras onto like this disc and put like Beginnings Part 2 as a final episode on the first disc, but maybe there wasn't enough space. In terms of behind that, you just get behind the first disc, you just get a picture of Korra. I think that's from the first episode, which goes into the Avatar state, Rebel Spirit. Behind the second disc, you just get a brief description of what each episode is about, as well as what some of the extras are. The discs themselves aren't anything special, really. It's just standard, white/grey color with the actual descriptions just kind of like cut out of that. Nothing really special, just says Book 2 Spirits, Disc 1 or 2. And then the key thing to review on this is, what's the content and primarily what the extras are, because I think that's what you buy a home release of any show, movie, or whatsoever for. Yes, you want to watch the episodes, but especially for like for us as like Avatar fans and stuff like that, there's easy access to watch the episodes whenever we want, more or less. This is really just a way to support the show, and then the extras, because you don't really find the extras online that much. So that's really what the home release is all about. And I'll talk briefly about my thoughts on Book 2, the actual episodes at the end. Now, on my channel I've talked a lot about Book 2, obviously last year, and I suppose a little bit this year as well, but most of my thoughts on the book, but I will give you some new thoughts now that obviously a decent amount of Book 3 is aired, and I'll do a little bit of a comparison here. But the extras, let's just read out on the back what it says, and then we'll go into like what it's actually like to watch. So bonus features, we get a feature called Feuding Spirits Korra's Family, 4 audio commentaries by creators and crew, and then 2 scene bendings. Very to the point, not much of a description. And that compares to the Book 1 DVD set, which had The Legend of Puppet Bender presents The Making of a Legend, The Untold Story Part 1, 4 audio commentaries by the creators, cast and crew. So there's more features on this. Interesting that they completely got rid of the Puppet Bender stuff. You know from my review of that that I really didn't like that Puppet Bender short. I'm glad that they didn't really put it on because it just wasn't that good. Which I think says a lot about the quality and obviously how it was received, that it's called part 1 on this and they didn't even bother to do the part 2 when I think there was even a trailer for the second part on this one. So that says a lot that they didn't bring it back. But so basically we have the same amount of episode commentaries and we just replaced the Puppet Bender short with 2 scene bendings, which is basically animatics, and a feature called Feuding Spirits Korra's Family. Now, the Feuding Spirits Korra's Family bit is actually really cool. It's only 6 minutes, which I think is part of the problem here, but it's basically Mike and Brian talking about Korra's family throughout this book, because as much as the book is called Spirits, it also is primarily about family. That's one of the big themes throughout the book, and they go really in depth on Korra's relationship with her parents, primarily her father. Not so much Senna, but we get a little mention of her. And then her relationship with her uncle, Unalaq, which are like 2 of the key relationships here. And that works really nicely because what I like here is that Mike and Brian go really in depth on especially the Unalaq thing, which I feel a lot of Avatar fans have misunderstood, missed watching book 2, or just in general kind of haven't really like talked about too much. You know, a lot of people just consider Unalaq a fairly boring villain, but the explanation that they give is basically what I've been saying, I suppose, in terms of my thoughts on Unalaq as a character. That he, as much as yes, he's kind of just a to the point villain. You know, he's lost his humanity. He wants to become more like a spirit, and like he uses Korra, but it's less that Korra allowed herself to be used, and more about what her relationship with the other members of her family put her in a position where Unalaq, despite clearly kind of showing that he's using her, was the only one willing to kind of give her a chance on her own. And of course he was using her, but look at the end of the book, his ability was the one that ended up defeating him. He thought her that ability that ended up winning the day for them. And she did, at the end of the book, her big decision that everyone compliments Korra on deciding to keep the portals open is inspired by the philosophy that Unalaq has. Just, he went overboard with it. Korra realizes that as much as he was crazy in the end with it, that a lot of what he was saying was correct about spirits and humans needing to kind of come back together. And so it explains that really well, and it's really great to hear Mike and Brian actually talk about that. The same it can be said for the 4 episode commentaries. Now the episodes they do commentaries for are Episode 1, Rebel Spirit, Episode 2, The Southern Lights, Episode 13, Darkness Falls, and Episode 14, Light in the Dark. So we get 4 out of 14 episodes with commentaries on the DVD, and overall I think they're really good because one key thing that they've done is they've got rid of any commentaries with the voice actors. There's no voice actors on any of their commentaries. Now, if any of you have watched all of the commentaries from Book 1 air, you'll know that there are a lot of voice actors on them. But the key thing is that they really don't add a lot to the commentary. They end up more making jokes, being funny, but not giving you the information that you come for, which is basically to hear Mike and Brian and some of the other creative people behind the show talk about what went into making the show, because even when the voice actors are on, they don't talk a lot about what actually they did, like how they voiced certain scenes or something like that. They're like, Janet Varney just went on and on and on about how privileged she felt to get this job on the show, and that was great for the first 1 or 2 commentaries. But when they kept bringing her back on, and that's all she would say, it got a little bit much. And so yes, maybe you would like to see some of the new voice actors like Stephen Yeun or April Stewart brought in for the Beginnings episodes or something like that. But obviously Beginnings isn't even on this DVD, but you get the sense that, maybe an odd time bring the voice actors on, but for the most part this works really well because we get, I think on all of the commentaries you get Mike Bryan and Joaquin Dos Santos I think they're on all of them. Tim Hedrick is on the first two, and then I think Jeremy Zuckerman is on the finale episode as well, and I think Lauren Montgomery is on one of them as well. Now, Mike and Brian obviously are the stars of these commentaries because they talk the most, having such a huge involvement with the making of the show in like every sense of it, basically. The others add a lot. Tim Hedrick is really nice to hear from the first one, and Jeremy Zuckerman in like such a powerful musical episode in the final episode says a lot, and that works really nicely. Because in book one they brought the track team on for episodes that really didn't have anything like amazingly special going on musically, and so it kind of took away from like the story. But they managed to kind of balance it out better, that even in such an important episode, Jeremy got his chance to talk about the epic music that was going on, and Mike and Brian got their chance to talk about the big events going on the screen and like explanations for them. And it just overall is very interesting because they really like explain every little decision pretty much that they made in these episodes, and they're just very much well worth a watch. Final extra is 2 scene bendings. Now, if you're wondering what these are, it's basically just all they do is they put up a scene from an episode on screen. Beside it, they put up the animatics, which is what they send to the animators to animate it the way we see on screen, basically. Like, it's just a super rough version of the final animation, basically, showing exactly basically what the characters do. You can see like actual words written on screen, like you know, get the model right here, this disappears, you know, transparent. You see little bits of writing on screen, and they just play a whole like 5-minute scene or something like that from an episode, while you can also see what's going on in the final version. And they kind of transition it from going like, you know, the full episode is small and you can see the full animation to half and half and stuff like that. It's a bit weird why they do that. The weirdest thing about them though is that after they show you both of them on screen, they then cut away and then just show you the final scene, as if they didn't have it on screen like 2 minutes ago. It's really weird. It's really cool. The problem, there's only 2 of them, and both of them are for the first episode, Rebel Spirits. So you basically get like half of Rebel Spirits in animatics and nothing about the rest of the book, as if the book is only like 1 book long. Now, onto the biggest problem I have with this set. It feels like it's missing content. It doesn't feel like, you know, we, like, ignoring the fact that a Blu-ray exists and it has all of the extras on it, this feels like it's something's missing from it. Just because, as I said, 2 scene bendings and they only cover the first episode. The audio commentaries having the first 2 episodes and the last 2 episodes. The Feuding Spirits featurette only talking about Korra's family when Tenzin's family was just as important. It feels like they just completely they had like X many extras, and they put in X over 2 extras into this. They just put in half of them with no real thought into any sort of flow for the extras or anything like that. It just feels really bad. And then let's bring in the fact that a Blu-ray exists and it has full features, and it had the Blu-ray has Feuding Spirits Korra's family has the one on this. It has Tenzin's family featurette. It has a, I think, 30-minute long making of book 2 documentary. Why wasn't that on this? It has 14 episode commentaries, 1 for every episode, and I think it has something like 17 scene bending animatics from various episodes over the course of the book. And that just makes this look terrible from Nickelodeon in terms of what they're doing. Like, I can understand giving exclusive features to the Blu-ray and not having everything on the DVD. I understand that. But what you don't do, in my opinion, is put the main extras and separate them from release to release. Like, I can understand to some extent, like, say the Puppet Bender thing, that part 2 existed, making that an exclusive to the Blu-ray because it's not important. It really is just a complete bonus extra feature that makes sense as like a Blu-ray exclusive. For me, episode commentaries are the bread and butter of like DVD extras. Why they decided to not put all of them on, I have no idea. I think it's a really bad decision because, you know, they're the main content that they do for these extras, and I just don't get why they separate them between releases. Um, Especially because, you know, okay, if you're decided to make them extra, why put any on this in the first place? And especially the way that they did them. As I said, first two and last two, when I think everyone knows that the most critically acclaimed episodes from this book are beginnings. Why didn't you even give us one of those episodes with audio commentary? I understand doing the finale, but I don't understand. I understand like doing the first episode, the last episode. Yes, that makes sense if you're only going to put on a few. But why do episode 2? Why do episode 13 and not touch on any of the middle episodes? The 10 episodes in the middle of the book. It just is really weird. Especially because these audio commentaries also tell a story. There's a story to the extras as you basically hear the creators talk throughout the whole season of the book. So why do they just give you a bit at the start, bit at the end, nothing in the middle? It just creates this weird dynamic when you go from the episode 2 commentary to the episode 13 commentary, and they kind of reference stuff that they've talked about before, but it's clearly stuff they talked about in commentaries that aren't even on the disc, and it's just very frustrating. The animatics, you know, to me they're not that big of a deal. Like, the art book, you know, is coming out in under 2 months. We'll see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, but I just find it's silly, honestly. The 2 out of 17, like, who made that decision? Who decided to put only 2 of these things onto the disc, and then the decision to, of those 2, make them of the same episode, and that episode be the first episode, which is done by the it's done by the other animation studio as well. So like, it's not even showing the like animation at its best. So it's baffling what they do with this thing. Then, like, I think honestly worse than any of that is why they didn't include the Tenzin's family feuding spirits featurette on this, because, you know, put one on each disc, you know, to create balance between the 2 discs. It's just really weirdly done. Definitely, you know, I if you don't have access to a Blu-ray player at all, I would recommend getting this, because if you don't really care that much about the extras, then yes, you know, you get all of the episodes on the disc, and that's great. But if you do care, you want the Blu-ray basically, and you're missing out on so much just for not having a Blu-ray player. And I think that's just a really bad example to set, that, you know, just because you don't have the Blu-ray player, you don't get 75% of the extras. It's just really weird. I hope someone uploads them online, because even though I don't like to promote, you know, post links on the site or anything like that to download episodes illegally, this is one thing I'm like, to anyone who gets the DVD, I think they deserve to see the other commentaries, just because they've paid for the book, and it's just a decision not to put some features on the disc, and it makes no sense to me. But as I said, overall the episodes look great, you know, DVD quality, it's good, and stuff like that. The extras that are on it are interesting and good. I just feel like it's missing something. It's not just that, like, oh, they've only put a few things on here. It feels like stuff is missing. But that's really the way it works. That literally there wasn't like a plan where, like, okay, this is going to be the DVD stuff, this is going to be the Blu-ray stuff. It's just, no, this is the Blu-ray stuff, and then, oh, we'll give the DVD people, you know, as a treat, you know, this, and this. There was just no real thought put into it in terms of it making sense at all. I hope they improve going into book 3 and 4, but at this stage I think we're set on 4. Add to that the fact that Book 1 had 12 episodes, Book 2 had 14 episodes, so why did they only keep the commentaries at 4 on each? Like, at the very least, give us one more audio commentary to make up for the fact that there are 2 more episodes in the book, but that didn't happen. So that's my basic review of the set itself. You know, it's fairly cheap on Amazon. Like, even for me to ship it from America, it wasn't that expensive. And if you're from America, I think the price has even gone down since I ordered it. So it's well worth getting if a DVD is all you have access to. But the Blu-ray seems to be like the thing to get. From what I've heard about the features I haven't seen yet, it seems like there's some really good stuff in the other episode commentaries. The animatics for some of the other episodes sound like they're going to be really cool. And then the making of documentary, again, like, why was a making of documentary that? Like, when I say the commentaries are the bread and butter, when you do a making of documentary, that shouldn't be an exclusive to one platform. That should be on every single release of Book 2 Spirits. It's just baffling to me, but yeah. So now I'll just briefly mention my thoughts on Book 2 Spirits itself, because it's part of the set. You know, I've basically covered this whole thing as extras when the main feature of this is getting the 14 episodes that make up Book 2 Spirits. As I said before, I really enjoyed Book 2 Spirits. I think it is a very good book of Korra overall. It's not perfect, just like Book 1 is not perfect, just like all 3 books of Avatar are not perfect. But honestly, it has some of my favorite episodes of Avatar or Korra in them. Beginnings Part 1, Beginnings Part 2, Neither of a Thousand Stars, Light in the Dark, Darkness Falls. All of these episodes, Harmonic Convergence as well. That's 6 episodes from the book straight away that I think are excellent. Add in A New Spiritual Age, which is also a very good episode. You have half of the book right there that I think most of the fandom considers to be very good, and I personally consider to be really excellent episodes. I really like episode 2, The Southern Lights, because it's the early episode that most connects to what happens later on in the book. So I really appreciate that. Civil Wars Parts 1 and 2 are really cool episodes because they deal with family so much, which is a forgotten theme of this book, I think, because people focus so heavily on the idea of spirits that they kind of ignore the whole family plot throughout the book, and so they do a really good job at that. Episode 1 is good, it sets up everything, does what it needs to do. It's nothing special, is what I'll say about it. The only part of Book 2 I was in any way disappointed with were Episode 5, Peacekeepers, and Episode 6, The Sting, just because they take such an unusual break away from everything else going on. Plus, the little dip in quality of the book happens just before the highest point of the book in Beginnings. It makes for a really interesting change. Now, it's interesting that that's basically kind of what's happened in Book 3 right now, where we got Original Airbenders, which is a good episode, but it's taken away from all this other kind of dramatic plot going on. And then we're potentially going to come back with Episode 8, which is set up to be right now one of the best episodes of Book 3. And so it's interesting that it's happened 2 books in a row, basically. But I think Book 2 Spirits is very good. I have issues beyond just the fact that I was a little bit disappointed with 5 and 6. I think the romance on the whole wasn't handled the best. I didn't like the fact that so much happened. There's so many get-back-togethers, breakups, and that by the end of the book, no one was together. I didn't like that decision that you spent so much time on relationships that when you end the book and go into Book 3, you don't have anyone in a relationship, really. That was disappointing to me, because it kind of, in a way, said that, we made a mistake with the shipping, we're just going to take it all away. Now, the problem is it wasn't necessarily the individual scenes of shipping, and that there were some really cool moments, like Bolin and Eska actually became a really interesting ship. I saw potential for Mako and Korra as a couple towards the end of the book, and then, as I've said before, it took me completely by surprise when the second breakup happened, which is my problem, was that the book led me to believe that they were getting back together and not breaking up again. So there's like some confusing stuff. But the sheer height of episodes like Beginnings, with that emotional journey of Juan and Rava and how epic that was, how awesome the animation in those two episodes were, plus how they linked perfectly into the book and the story that Korra was going through and what it taught her. And then just how the book ratcheted up towards the end and had a really amazing finale, in my opinion. Probably one of the best we've had, just in terms of impact on the world. It was really good, and at the end of the day, and what it also did was it set up the stage for book 3. Everyone is in love with book 3 so far. I am too. But that's only happened because of what book 2 did in terms of creating this situation of severe kind of magnitude, importance to the world. Korra solving that and making big decisions for the world. And so you have to give book 2 a lot of credit for how book 3 is right now, and that it in a way is responsible for setting up how good book 3 is being right now, and it deserves credit for being good on its own. Yes, there were some low points in the first half of the season, but made up for it completely by the second half of the book. And so when I hear people say that book 3 is so good it makes book 2 look really bad, and I don't like book 2 compared to how good book 3 is right now, that is really severely underselling book 2. You may think it's hyping up book 3 more at the expense of book 2, but that's all you're doing. You're just more insulting book 2 than actually promoting book 3. Because at the end of the day, you're saying, I think this thing is bad, and I think this thing is better. That's not the best comparison. You're just like, if you just said one thing is bad, then of course the other thing is better. Why can't we just say that book 3 is so far the best written book of Korra we've had so far? Book 2 was good too, but book 3 is so far surpassing it. So I think book 2 is severely, criminally in fact, underrated by the Avatar fandom, and I think it's very good. That's all I'm going to say right now, or I'll go on forever talking about it. Definitely let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on the DVD set if you've got it, on the Blu-ray set if you got it. But most importantly, I just really want your thoughts on the whole extra split between DVD and Blu-ray. Why they make this decision all the time to not give everything on the DVD and give everything to the Blu-ray. Thanks for watching this review, and bye.